up, 24-hour party people? 'Tis I, Tim, the brand weaver, and you, as always, are listening to Branding for Breweries, the show that brings you the brightest minds in the brewing world, from all across the brewing world, in fact, to help your brewery thrive, survive, and just do epic things. And today, as no exception, because I am joined by the devilishly handsome Tom from Untappd. Now, what Tom doesn't know about Untappd is not worth knowing ultimately. So that's why I had to tap him up on LinkedIn and be like, Tom, dude, you've got to come and have a chat with us. You've got to unpack this behemoth of an app that is Untappd and help us to understand how you and your breweries can make the most of this app. Far more than just going, oh, we got 3.475 stars and all that kind of stuff, because that's a lot more to look at. So I'm going to stop running my mouth. I'm going to bring Tom into the chat now, and we're going to get stuck in. Everyone, say hi to Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey, guys. Hi, Tim. Hi.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, doing good, especially after hearing brightest and handsome in one sentence.
Well, I do what I can. I just speak the truth as well, Tom. You're a gorgeous man, gorgeous man. So, Tom, I can't imagine there's going to be many people listening to this going, what is Untappd? But for the few, would you mind, just giving a bit of an introduction as to who you are and indeed what the platform Untappd is all about, please?
Yeah, so let's start very briefly with myself. I'm Tom Maneschijn, which translates my last name translates into moonshiner, which explains why I ended up in alcohol industry, I think. I'm a senior vice president of Untappd for 5 years, and Untappd is the largest beer community out there globally. We have 12 million plus users, over 20,000 customers, and we try to unite the beer industry from a digital perspective. Yeah.
And that it does. Like, everyone's talking about their Untappd ratings, that's for sure, Tom. But what I want to know is, like, beyond the ratings, is that all breweries should be worried about with Untappd when it comes to actually the drinker behavior and use of the app, or are there a lot of things that they're really not making the most of?
I think that the rating is just one central KPI that everyone's staring at, but I think that ultimately the rating is just an indicator, and you should look at the rating in its style. And it's obvious that a non-alcoholic beer has a lower rating than a stout or a porter or a IPA. But if you look in its style, then a 2.9 for a non-alcoholic beer can be very good. And so yes, the rating is important because it's ultimately the consolidated view of the users. But there's way more behind that than just that number.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. As you say, if you just drill down one level to the style, at least you can then go, right, in the category that I am playing within, I am creating a good one of these. I think that's even probably a lot of breweries aren't even doing that. They're just going like high level rating, that's what we are. So just to take that one level down, that makes so much sense. And how are breweries best to kind of extract all that data and get their hands on it? Is it pretty simple within the app? Are they using
I think it starts with very simple things. You can start by just claiming your brewery. A lot of breweries haven't done that yet, and those are things that are free. When you're on Instagram or on Facebook, or the first thing you do is make your brewery page, etc., etc. Usually in Untappd, because we have over 750,000 commercially distributed beers at this moment, and millions more from the past. Usually every brewery is already on Untappd, even if you haven't claimed it yet. And there are big breweries that haven't claimed it yet. But the first step can be just claim your brewery. You're the owner, control it from our webpage, and work from there. And when your community is, the people are checking in your beers, just toast the beers. Get in contact with the users that are celebrating your beers, or have complaints or tips on your beers. So yeah, I think that would be the first step. And if from there you need more, or you want to execute on marketing or data or on your own taproom, then from there you can connect with us, of course, to see how the community can work for you.
Yeah, because that's where it starts to get really exciting in my mind. The idea that you go, right, we're thinking of launching a new style of beer that we've not done before. You, with the right data on Untappd, you can sense check that before you've even like put together a brewing plan, right?
Yeah, sure. In my introduction, I did mention that before that I worked 10 years for a brewery, for Grols Asahi Peroni. And one of the things that we did there is use the data of Untappd to see, okay, what is the beer that is successful in the US or in the UK? What is coming to the Netherlands? And what are the tasting profiles? What is the target audience? How should you position it? So ultimately, you want to remove the guesswork in your brewing, because brewing is expensive, and with margins getting tighter and tighter, you want to be more efficient, and it starts with having the right liquid on the right spot in the right time.
Yeah. See, I was having a conversation just last week with a buyer from Tesco's, and we were talking about trends and what's coming through. But yeah, this is just another way that you can get ahead of the curve and go, oh, that's what they're doing in the States. That's what's been working really well for the last 9 months. It's likely something's going to kick off here in the UK or vice versa, or a different part of the world.
Yeah, and I think the great thing about Untappd is that, of course, we have the big brewers, the macro brewers, top 10 brewers that use the data to brew, to see, okay, what's hip and happening over there or in that region. How can we adapt to that? If we brew an IPA, then should it be raspberry or strawberry or citrus? It should be citrus because we're going into this season, et cetera, et cetera. And rotation is higher, scores are higher, it's our target audience, etc. But the great thing about the platform is that Untappd is for everyone. So also the smaller brewers use it. They also see the benefits from the data and the direct interaction with the community.
And so the idea of looking at trends and what's coming down the line is just one application of the data. What are other ways that you've seen some breweries leveraging that data where you're like, that's clever, well done them, or we hope they would have used the data for that?
Yeah, well, I think we have a lot of use cases, and that's also during a check-in, because and that's, I think it brings us back to the beginning of Untappd. Of course, we have 12 million users. What do? 60% of our users is actually checking in their beers. So 40% is using it as a Wikipedia, encyclopedia for beer, what's available here, what should I drink, etc. 60% by now has checked in 1.5 billion times. So that's 1.5 billion check-in moments, consumption moments. But that check-in has very rich data. So it says, what have you been drinking? Who's drinking? Where is he or she drinking? What was the weather at the time? What were the tasting profiles, etc., etc., etc. So you can imagine that there's going a lot of data into the funnel. And it's important to draw the right conclusions from that data. And we have a framework where we say, okay, data is great, insights is better, but you have to go into action, and it has to have impact on the P&L ultimately. Because ultimately, if you have insights and you do something with it, then and it doesn't have impact on your P&L, then why should you buy the data? That's the same like buying grain and not putting it in your beer. And that's always the conversation we have with our brewers and our customers. What are those value drivers for the brewers? And the most used business case for this is acquisition, actually. So a brewer goes into Southampton, they see from our data dashboards where are my beers being sold, but ultimately also where are my beers not being sold and what beers are being sold there, what brands are being sold, where are my competitors, but also these are venues and pubs, restaurants, etc., retailers where we think we are sold, but it also discloses where you're also being sold via an alternative way. So it gives you a lot of insight in what your brand footprint is in a certain region. So you can work on that. What should be the first pubs in the region that I should visit based on check-ins, based on closest competitor, based on ratings going down, based on etc. There are a lot of motivations to visit an outlet, and if you have the Untappd data in place, then it really helps you to execute better on the sales front, but also on distribution. So distribution is the second value driver. If you have your main Pilsner in that certain outlet, you also want to know, okay, what are my other beers? What are my specialty beers? What are my craft beers to be sold there? And can I pull from a list all the Grand Cafés or the bigger pubs that should at least have 6 SKUs from me? So that really helps in the third value driver, that's Salesforce effectiveness. How can I make sure that that account manager becomes more effective and efficient in his everyday business? And then the fourth one, we already discussed that, innovation. Mm-hmm. So brewers really, you look at it, and it's of course it's not exact science, but they can look at, okay, what are the trends? What are people looking for? Where do we see an uptick in sours? And if we see an uptick, in what audience, in what region? Maybe it's the trend in London is already gone, but in Leeds it's hip and happening. So that's innovation. We have a couple of brewers actually that use it for quality. So you see in a certain region that a score is going down. They zoom in on the check-ins. They look at the pictures, and in 85% of the cases there is a picture in the on-prem. They look at execution. They see, okay, it's poured in the wrong glass. We're going to send a merchandise team. It's poured in the wrong way. We're sending an account manager to do a draft training. Or the tap lines are dirty. You can also see that by looking at the check-in, but also the picture. So when the tap lines are dirty, they send a techniques team. So a maintenance team. And I think that proves that the data that we have isn't the rate of sale data, because you don't check in every beer. We're not Nielsen, we're not IRI, but we are perception data. We are the voice of a lot of people, 12 million and close to 400,000 in the UK. So it is a large pool of people that is in front of your account managers or in front of your brewers, is helping to scan the landscape and helping you to navigate through that very competitive landscape. And yeah, I'm very happy to tell that there are a lot of fast-growing brewers that recognize that, also in the UK, and that use our data and that use our marketing to get there. And I listened to one of your previous podcasts, and the word beer geek was mentioned. Yes, we have a lot of beer geeks, but we have 12 million people. Only 15% of that is qualified as the beer geek. And if you ask them, they're proud of that name. So it's okay to call them the beer geeks. But there are a lot of beer lovers in our platform, and actually we like to call the 12 million people our tastemakers, because ultimately they define what the future of beer looks like in the consumer.
You've just blown my mind with the applications of it. It's so much more than a ranking system. Even you're talking about, I didn't realize you could get like what the weather was at the point of a check-in and things like that. So even on such a small level, in my little mind, there's a small little indie brewery going, we've got to rank for something, and they might go, we're the #1 drank stout on a hot day in Bath. And that could be a fun little social campaign that you run just in a
absolutely.
local area. But like you say, you then extrapolate it out and you can get much bigger. You go like, who's drinking our beers and where's it going down really well? What do we need to bring up? What do we need to improve? What do we need to dial back? And all from one central data point. I think it's phenomenal. What I want to talk to you about a little bit, Tom, is almost nurturing that user experience beyond the check-in or the rating, because there's other things that you can do, right? Once someone has checked in your beer, then a brewery has the option to, they can post them a message or something similar. Is that right?
Yeah. So of course we have our data proposition. The app is free, so for everyone who uses the app is free. And to be able to keep it free, you need to have business models to support that. So one of that is one of the big pillars is insights. So using the data, to make the better proposition, etc. Like we discussed just now. The second pillar is marketing, of course. Then you know that your beer is being the best beer on a summer day in Bath. Then you want to promote that. Then you want to invite everyone in Bath. Hey, you checked in a beer. Come on and drink this beer on this terrace. So you're really marketing in the moment, and I think that's very powerful of the app. That the moment you check in a beer, you instantly get a promotion. You can instantly get a promotion. That's one of our marketing features, and it can be a very precise one, like I just said. Come and join us on the terrace in Bath. But it can also be, hey, Northern Monk has launched a new beer, or Vault City has a new campaign, or whatever. So it could be very broad, but you're exactly in the target audience, very highly segmented, and I think that's that also shows that our conversion rates are very high in comparison to other platforms.
I was going to say, like, what are the most successful kind of follow-ups that you've seen breweries do? Is it nip into the tap room because you're only around the road, or is it here's 10% off on the online shop? Like, what seems to work the best?
Yeah, so typically the high end, the very special barrel age programs, the advent boxes, they work very well. Very specific branded boxes. I remember doing a campaign for a big brewery in the UK, driving traffic to all their pubs. Yeah, that was, if 400,000 people get a campaign invite to go to the pub and have a reason to go to the pub, and then that drives traffic. And ultimately, that's what we are. We are a community where you can communicate with, and that drives traffic to either your venue, or to your brewery, or to your brand, or to retail. We also did a fun thing with a brewery that. So if you checked in 2 beers from that brewery, then you received the bronze badge. When you checked in 5 different beers of that brewery, you received the silver badge. And if you checked in 10, you received the golden owl. It was Uiltje Brewing Company from the Netherlands. And with that badge, you could visit the brewery tour for free. And that really got it from online to loyalty to driving traffic to the tap room, and ultimately really connect with your audience.
That's really interesting, because I'm thinking about the breweries where you get your little stamp book and you've had a pint and you get a little rubber stamp, and after 10 you'll get your final beer for free or something. But you can use Untappd in a very similar way, but probably more gamified in many ways, isn't it?
Yeah, so that with the badges, of course, and I like to compare it with the Pokemon hunt a few years back. But ultimately, we have people flying across the US collecting badges. We even have one here in the office, and yeah, every 2 weeks I think I have someone at the door. Hey, can I drink a beer here? Because it's partially, it's either beer oriented, the badge, or brewery oriented, or location oriented. So a few weeks back at Mikkeler Beer Celebration, we did a badge for Mikkeler. The audience had to check in on 5 different locations in Copenhagen, and beers from Mikkeler, of course. I think 432 people got the full badge, but it meant that they also had to visit the one at the airport, and they also had to visit the one at Tivoli, an amusement park in the center. So they had to pay an entrance fee to go there, drink a beer, check it in, and go from there. So there's
That's
really
dedication,
benefits
isn't it?
going with, and probably that's more within the 15% of our users. But hey, it's a way to drive traffic, to get a fuzz going on with your breweries, and it doesn't have to be that collectible. You can also do passports. Of course, Brewdog has a passport system, and Mikkeler has a passport system globally, where you can travel the world collecting the badges. But it can be very small. Hey, come to my pub now. We have a pub quiz tonight. Yeah, and you can do that with everyone who's already in the occasion. So.
And I was going to say, so, you know, a lot of the badges are earned by checking in on a particular beer, but is there the opportunity to reach out to those who haven't tried your brewery? Can you like kind of go, well, if I'm looking to target people who like this particular style in this particular location, and then push something towards them?
Yeah, the Untappd users are usually, it's about discovery, it's about trial, it's about making that journey in the beer landscape. So we've done some campaigns in the past where we would say, hey, we have an IPA campaign for a brewery, and we only want to hit people that drink IPAs. So that's possible. Or we have people who are drinking at a certain pub chain, and we want to get people from another pub chain. Those are very niche and possible, but we usually advise just confront the entire community, and then from there you can convert the people. And on the back end with marketing, you have a live dashboard always with our marketing, and you can see where the people coming from, what ages. You cannot see the name, of course, but there's a lot of insight in how your campaign is working, and yeah.
And Untappd has an email platform as well. Is that right? That you can access or communicate with shoppers via that? Is that correct?
Yeah, true. So what we have is you have the check-in. So you check in, you get a promo. You have the home tile. So you go to the app, you open the app, and you see the advertisement of the brewery. You have the badges that you can collect. And then on the forefront, we said, okay, we actually also want to bring actual content. So if a brewery has a new campaign or a crowdfund, or they want to send a message to the community, then we want to help them to do a branded campaign. So in email to all our users. So 60% of all our users is checking on average, but the email goes to 100%. And then 100% of the people who opted in, of course. So that gives you a very big reach in reaching, and we have limitations. So in every region, it's a maximum of 3 promotions at a time, 1 home tile at a time, 1 newsletter or 1 email per month, dedicated by the brand. So in that way, you always get the most out of your marketing budget, and have it dedicated to your brand.
So could you like outline what you see the perfect like brewery customer journey being with Untappd? So let's say they've used the data to inform the beer that they're going to brew. But from that point onwards, how would you go, right, these are the things that I would do leveraging Untappd to get the best like return for it?
Yeah, well, ultimately, and that's actually a real user case. A UK brewery that wants to expand into Western Europe, mainland Europe, hip and happening in the UK, not known in mainland Europe. So what we did there is provide them with the data. Okay, what are the regions where your style is favorable, where your competitors on the mainland? How should you introduce? What are the retailers that are open for a broad portfolio? So based on that, provide them with the insights. Then set up a marketing plan in mainland Europe, introducing the brand. So starting with the Discover tile. Hey, this brewery has now landed in Europe. Then after check-in of a beer, get a promo. Okay, it's now available in Europe. And then ultimately, we also connected them to, and that's our third pillar of creating value. Not a pillar where we are, well, there in the third pillar we're more a lubricant than really the party that is making the money there. But we're if you're checking a beer on a terrace in Bath, for instance, then ultimately, and you like the beer, then ultimately you would like to purchase the beer as well on the platform. So you get the promo, and usually with the promo you go to the third party, you go to the brewery, and you can buy it there. But now you can also say, hey, do you want to directly buy it from the shop? And so what we also did with the UK breweries, list them on the European platforms. So in the Netherlands, Germany, the Nordics, France, Spain, Italy, Belgium, and Austria, we're now live with the shop. So you can buy beers on Untappd.
Awesome.
We support that. Our database is connected to that. Ultimately, fulfillment is done by local providers. So we connected them to the local providers, and instantly they had availability in 11 countries. So that completes the journey, and then from there, the data comes back from the consumption moment to their dashboards, and they see, okay, we're being checked in Helsinki, in Madrid, in Wien, so you see it across Europe that it lands. Okay, in Finland it's not that popular, but in Spain they love it. So hey, maybe we should focus more on Spain. So ultimately, I would point to that as a perfect journey.
Yeah, and you can say I'm not telling you, Tim, but how much would a brewery need to be thinking about in terms of like finance? Because it seems like there's a lot of work that goes into something like that, and you have to be a brewery of a certain size to achieve that. So what would they be looking at financially to try and make something like that happen?
Yeah, so I think that's also part of the confusion. Untappd is, we're not making we're an independent platform. So we're not owned by any, some people think we are, but we're not owned by InBev or Heineken or whatever. So Heineken is first is at the same level as any small indie brewer in the UK. So we're in the same level playing field. Of course, when Heineken buys data, then it's a bigger set of data. They have other questions to the data. They have a different footprint across the world. But for a smaller brewery, we also want to available, and a 2-week marketing campaign usually is somewhere around $1,000, and with a dollar that is, then you can have a lot of reach with that. So there's a lot of value on the dollar for that, and also our data and insights pricing. It starts with $13.99 pre-discount for the dashboards. So we also have that on a monthly base. So for well under £100 a month, you have your data and insights dashboards ready to look at and see how your brand is performing in the market. So yeah, I think that, and one step back, and that's a step I usually advise to every brewer, is claim your brewery and do the small things you can already do. Toast with the community, promote on the community, and from there connect with us and see what the options are for your budget.
Yeah, that's far more manageable in my mind than I thought it potentially could be. So that's going to be reassuring to a lot of people, I should imagine.
Yeah, and I think that there's a small step in between. A lot of breweries also have a tap room or pubs where they are being sold. We also have, and that's ultimately our biggest product, and that's where it started. It's Untappd for Business. So being in the pub, getting traffic to your pub, being on the screens with having the football match on the telly, and then on the bottom you see the hey, Tim has now checked in a hazy IPA 4.1. Say cheers to Tim, etc. So with the beer menus, the digital menus, and the ways to analyze that data, and that's all part of a Untappd for Business license, being verified and drive value from there.
Yeah, because we didn't even talk about the actual like in taproom tech, the menus, the screens, and the integrations. And I've been in several tap rooms where it is Untappd that's powering those.
Yeah.
But again, is that an under-leveraged piece of tech in your opinion? Can breweries and tap rooms be making more of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if you're an active user, we have I think 3 bigger pub chains in the UK now that use it. That use it for years already, and I think that having that in place enables you to directly connect with the community. If you look at let's say Kensington, London, and it's a tightly area, of course, but I did some research for one pub there, but in the vicinity of that pub is so let's say a mile range, 2-mile range. There are already a couple of hundred users of Untappd available, and if you widen that range, which you can do from that Untappd for Business license, and promote your pub and get people into your pub, then ultimately that accelerates, of course, the traffic to your pub, but also builds loyalty with the community. And of course, we see a lot of specialty bars, a lot of beers on draft, but we see more and more retailers use it. Large retailers, because all retailers have big shelves with beers, and I haven't seen anyone who looked at it and said, okay, I completely understand this shelf. I know where to take. So you need guidance there, and Untappd can give that guidance to the audience in front of the shelf. And the same thing in the bar or the pub. Okay, what's available here? What suits my past, my tasting profile? What should I take? Should I take the hazy IPA, or should I take the Vault City Sour?
So based on that, so say I was a brewery with a tap room, I've got a bar that's pouring drinks, I've also got a beer fridge, got a couple of cans in there, and I've got a social area where, like you say, we'll play the football and things like that. what I think I'm picking up on is for Untappd, you'd have one beer menu where you're pulling draft and that's what's on. You've got the other menu just breaking down what you can see in the can fridge. And then on the third screen, you've got the football, but you still got some kind of ticker or something that's showing community activity. And it's all linking back to everything that's on offer from that one particular brewery. Did I hear that correct?
Exactly, and in the pub, it's even deeper. We can also facilitate complete data on your wine, as we have a plugin with Wine Searcher. So you have the same experience from there. You cannot present it on the ticker, but you can present it on your digital menu with the same experience as you have in Untappd. And all the food and things that you want to project on your digital menu. So it's also a great digital menu tool. And since a few weeks also, of course, if you look at a bar or a restaurant and you look at the website, then ultimately it's just a extended version of your digital menu. So what did we do a few weeks back? And we introduced in the US and now we have it globally, the ability to project your digital menu in seconds, in clicks, to a very professional website. Because around the digital menu, there's always opening hours. There's always a who are we, about us, how to contact us, and make a reservation. So that's an easy step for a brewery, and it's now also part of the proposition.
Nice. So I'm thinking here, if a brewery goes, right, first things first, I've got to claim my brewery on Untappd. Then do you see their mindset being almost like how they manage their social channels? They maybe need 10 to 15 minutes a day of where they're going in, they're cheersing, they're recognizing those people who have checked in, adding a comment. Is that like what? Would that be your recommendation for someone to be a light brewery user?
Yeah. And then the next step would be if you have a tap room or you deliver to pubs, I would say get them verified, because that really drives traffic to the outlets and ultimately to your brand, and that helps rotation, of course, and that's what you want. Get the right users in and get them to experience your beers on a loyal base, and then I think the next step is that you look into, okay, how can we market it to a broader audience? I'm now talking to my own audience who's already perceiving my brand, but I make the best IPAs, so I want to tell that to the other IPA drinkers as well, and I want to get them into my pub instead of their pub. So I think that's really a logical step into the world of Untappd. What we also saw, and that's really, I think, also best practice. A lot of people just moved other platforms from their cans, and they said, okay, just scan us on Untappd, and that drives additional traffic, additional check-ins to the brand, and brings you into more attention. So you can imagine that where maybe one of the brewers who did that is Algae Brewing Company. They put the QR code on the can, and they went up. I think they were number 10 in the Netherlands from craft, and then they were number 2 based on check-ins. So it really accelerates the number of check-ins being visible on the can, and also displaying the right story. Because if you check the barcode or the QR code, then you instantly go to the page of that beer, and having that positioned well really helps you in the sale.
I can imagine. So I want to talk a little bit about the future of Untappd and what we can expect to see coming. You already mentioned, you've got the sales thing nailed in lots of European places. Is the UK on the roadmap? Is that going to be something that we hope to see somewhere down the line?
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah, it's of course, we just launched the other 9 countries. I think it's now the Netherlands and the other 9 countries, and then in the US we have 22 states now. A logical next step would be the UK, of course. So really looking forward to get that over there and get the UK audience the ability to already buy it on the app. It's already visible actually as a teaser in the app, so you can already see the shop. The only thing is that you cannot order yet. So
oh, you big meanie, showing us what we could have, but we don't have it just yet.
It's coming.
Tom, this has been phenomenal, my man, and yeah, it certainly has like really opened my mind to the possibilities of what can be done with Untappd. Like, we've only been chatting for a short 40 minutes, but if people are listening to this and they go, actually, yeah, I want to understand this a little bit more, I need to look into it in a little bit more detail, where would you recommend they go, and visit to get more information on how best to use Untappd?
Yeah, of course, you can always visit our websites, untappd.com, for just a more mainstream look at our products and what we can do for you. You can also hit me up directly. It's a very difficult email address, tom@untappd.com. So feel free out, and me or my team will get in contact with you.
Fantastic. Yeah, one of the hardest email addresses to remember there, tom@untappd. Yes.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people still spell it with the E before the D. So it's Untappd without the E.
Fair enough. All right, I take it back. Yes, no E. That's fine. All right, Tom, my man, thank you so much for your time today. This has been an awesome chat. I really loved it, and I hope everyone tuning in has enjoyed it as well. As always, if you did enjoy the show, go and find it on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Apple. Give it a like, give it a thumbs up, give it a subscribe, whatever you need to do. But keep on coming back, because I love you joining in and I love these chats. So everyone, have a great day. Rock on. Bye.